My friends, what I'm going to deliver today is the kind of information that the mainstream media, the big newspapers, and the armchair analysts will try to downplay. They will use technical terms, they'll talk about security protocols, but the reality is much harsher and more dangerous. What happened in Venezuela in the last few days wasn't just a simple transportation logistics issue, it was a fist slammed on the table. Donald Trump has just done in a few months what the world watched drag on for decades, while Brasilia tried to keep all the plates spinning and maintain a neutrality that no longer exists. The sheriff is back, and he didn't come back to talk, he came back to clean up the area. The information is overwhelming. The United States has completed the removal of 13.5 kilo of enriched uranium from Venezuela. Now stop and think with me. Why now? Why at this speed? What is circulating in Washington's innermost circles is that this operation is only the first step, the domino of a total reordering in our region. While those containers were being escorted by elite forces to the Venezuelan port, the atmosphere in Brasilia was like a funeral. There is a silence that screams in the halls of the Planalto. The Brazilian government is on high alert, and it's not because of Venezuela. It's because of what this operation reveals about Brazil's future on the new global chessboard. If you think this is an isolated event, you still haven't realized how decisive that checkmate was. But why did no one tell you what happened right after the last container was loaded onto the American ship? The answer is in Brasilia. While the uranium was leaving Caracas, the Brazilian government was trying to understand how its diplomacy of dangerous friendships became a direct target of the new American administration. The mood is not one of diplomatic concern, it's one of strategic panic. They know the cleanup has begun. And Trump's list is long. Yes, my friends, it's very long. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, leave a like on the video. It takes work to bring this to you. Now let's talk about the truth regarding those 13.5 kilo of uranium enriched to 20%. Technically, to make a nuclear explosion like the ones in the movies, you would need 95% purity. Venezuela didn't have the technology to get there, but don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the smooth talk of armchair experts. With 20%, you can't make the mushroom cloud, but you can make a dirty bomb. You use regular dynamite to spread this radioactive material. In practice, the damage is the same. You wipe out an entire city, a major capital, silently, and make the land uninhabitable for generations. Trump didn't remove it from there because he was afraid of a missile. He removed it because he knows that in the wrong hands, 20% is enough. To cause a humanitarian disaster without precedent, he acted because he knows exactly who the groups are that move freely around Caracas, and unfortunately across our borders. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Hezbollah, Hamas, they all use Venezuela as the biggest hub for international narco-terrorism. Now, look at how serious this is. That material had been there since the 60s. It was a gift from the Americans, back when Venezuela was a serious country. Seriously, a real ally of the United States. The RV-1 reactor there in Caracas was a symbol of cooperation. But time went by and power fell into the hands of those who use uranium as a bargaining chip. The problem was never the technology, my friends. The problem is whose hands it's in. In the hands of dictators and organizations that don't respect borders, that uranium was a direct threat to the security of the entire hemisphere. And you think Iran has nothing to do with this? Wrong, and the reason is scary. Iran has huge stockpiles of uranium enriched to 60%, which is very close to weapons grade level. The operation in Venezuela was a dress rehearsal. Trump showed that he can go in, surround, and remove sensitive material from a dictatorship allied with Tehran in record time. The main message wasn't for Maduro because Maduro is trapped. The message was sent directly to the Ayatollahs. And Brazil, which authorized Iranian ships to dock in Rio de Janeiro, is watching this and breaking out in a cold sweat. The sheriff showed that the time of complacency is coming to an end. Now we're going to go to the second level of this deep dive. If you think the problem was just Venezuelan uranium, wait until you see what we found out about Lula's meeting with Trump. Pay attention to the timing. What was Lula doing at the White House exactly at the moment when this nuclear operation was at its peak? The official version is the usual one: democracy, environment, peace. But at the level where power is exercised, no one crosses the ocean to make small talk. There is highly credible insider information, confirmed by diplomatic activity, that Brazil tried to offer itself as an intermediary, a sort of guarantor for Iran's nuclear material. The plan would be for Brazil to act as a safe haven, where Tehran's uranium would be stored under our supervision. Do you believe that? My friends, isn't this playing with fire inside a powder keg? It's bringing the biggest geopolitical conflict on the planet into our own backyard. All just to try to get a nod, a favor from Trump? But that's behind the scenes information. In time, we'll find out whether or not that proposal was actually made. In fact, the Brazilian newspaper Metropolis announced that Lula personally handed Trump the 2010 nuclear agreement between Brazil, Russia, and Iran. And then you might ask yourself, why bring up this document now? By the look on Lula's face when he left that meeting, the no he heard was blunt. Trump doesn't want intermediaries with shady relationships at the very least. He wants clarity. He knows that Brazil maintains dialogues that Washington no longer tolerates, and there's the other side of the coin. The big money side of it. The real interest behind this trip may be much more pragmatic and less diplomatic, as we've already mentioned here in other videos, to save politically connected conglomerates like JBS. Josely Batista, a friend of Lula, is worried about anti-cartel measures that could destroy the company's business in the United States, where the Trump administration itself offered a reward of more than $1 million to anyone who brings relevant information about this cartel. The government tries to use geopolitics to protect private interests, but Trump doesn't trade nuclear security for favors and meatpacking plants. There's only one outcome. Brazil is leaving these talks weaker than when it came in, without a shadow of a doubt and with a heavy bill to pay. To understand the present, we need to have historical memory. Do you remember the beginning of 2023? Two Iranian ships, the Makran and the Dana, docked in Rio de Janeiro. Brazil broke security protocols of the Organization of American States to allow them to dock here. What was in those boxes that left the ships under escort without inspection? To this day, no one has given an official answer. The event was closed, cell phones were forbidden, records were erased. The ship left, and soon after, Iran made a leap in uranium enrichment. But look at this coincidence that seems like something out of a spy movie. At the same time these ships were around, serious reports and questions arose about the security of materials at the electronuclear plant in Resende. At the time, they tried to play down the case, but I ask you, in the geopolitics of power, is there such a thing as a small amount of uranium when the subject involves Iran? At the time, an amount of uranium that they called negligible disappeared. It could be a simple coincidence, but it's also a matter of transparency that the Brazilian people deserve to have. Russian planes landing in Brasilia without registration, Iranian military cargo planes coming and going as if Brazil were an extension of the Islamic Republic, just like in Venezuela, and there's more. Venezuela was doctoring passports so that agents of the Revolutionary Guard and Hezbollah could travel around the world. They used Iranian military bases on Venezuelan soil to train and infiltrate terrorists into the United States. Trump knows about every landing, every takeoff, and every doctored passport. He knows that the Brazilian nuclear program is a legacy from the military era, an active, modern, and extremely efficient program. Too bad it didn't expand across the whole country. Washington's fear is that this technology or our material is being traded in the back rooms of shadow diplomacy to save allied dictatorships. Brazil has been flirting with danger for many years, while trying to maintain a facade of neutrality that Trump's world has already warned it will no longer accept. My friends, the cleanup has begun. Trump took the uranium from Venezuela, and the next move is Iran. The board is being cleared, and the pieces that don't align with security and order will be swept away. Brazil has two choices. Either it takes on a serious leadership role aligned with the free world, or it will be left isolated, clinging to dictatorships that are falling one by one. I want a strong Brazil, a Brazil that is respected for its sovereignty, not for its dangerous alliances, but for that we need clarity and transparency. We need leaders who are not afraid to tell the truth. What you saw here today is just the surface of a much deeper movement that is reshaping the map of power. That's why we always emphasize the same point. Algorithmic censorship and the pressure from social networks often don't allow us to go into details that are vital for your understanding. The system tries to silence those who connect the dots. That's why I invite you to take the next step in our journey. On our exclusive platform, free from any censorship, we go deeper into these topics than the system allows. We already have more than 3,000 subscribers who have chosen not to be deceived by the mainstream media anymore. Take advantage of the QR code appearing on your screen, the link in the description, and in the first pinned comment. There we show everything in more depth, with information we can't share here. And for those who are tired of this cheap indoctrination and want a real alternative for your family, check out our new channel for series and movies. It's a space without woke culture, without whining, focused on stories that respect our values and our intelligence. Tips on series and movies that are actually worth your time so you can fill your mind with what is truly good. It's our way of offering real culture and protecting our base, so the link is in the description, in the pinned comment, and also in the card. Check out our series and movies channel. Now we're talking specifically about series that deal with what's happening in the Middle East, Mossad and CIA infiltrations in the heart of the Iranian regime. Yes, we have the series Fauda, we have the series Tehran, among others that we're discussing. So come on over, and if you value this effort and want to keep receiving this dose of reality, do the following. Subscribe to the channel now, turn on the notification bell, like the video, and share it with your friends. Now shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.